So East Cobb is next, and then we're going to be Kennesaw, Akron. We're going to be we're going to surround the county and let them know this is a Cobb issue. It's not just a Smyrna issue. Okay, this has been going on in Cobb forever. I didn't even know it till recently. H. Brown, was first arrested here in Cobb. Okay, so. Uh, but we know we've got so many cases here, and the Department of Justice, by the way, is meeting with us here. It is investigating.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So Cobb's veneer. Cobb is like America. It's a very good symbol of America. Fantastic image. Cobb always says, "Oh, we're not like the Kansas." You know what I'm saying? And of course they're partially saying we're not like black folk because Cobb is run by white people still, even though it's now almost 50-50.
Yeah, that made me want to ask you the question of, do you consider Cobb a conservative county?
Oh yeah, it's definitely conservative.
Yes, sir.
And see, I was never able to, because I'm into building coalitions. I'll sit and work with you. I don't care who you are, as long as you work with me and treat me equal. And so I've always wanted to try to work with the white conservatives, especially the Tea Party, because at least they go out and stand up for what they believe is their rights in the streets. They'll do stuff. And so, even though I disagree with a lot of it, so I was always looking for an opportunity to bring them together in one of our coalitions, and I found it. And I did it when the Braves announced they were moving here and building their stadium here.
Yes, sir.
Which I'm a baseball fan. I grew up at Yankee Stadium in New York with the Yankees, but a billionaire-owned company wants us to pay 60%, $1 billion for their stadium, the taxpayer.
Wow.
That's crony capitalism, corporate welfare. They're going to complain about people on welfare when we give out billions to big corporations like that. No way. And so, just to give you an idea of how this county was raped, the Falcons, Fulton County is paying like 18 or 19% of the cost of their stadium, right? We're paying 60% of the Braves stadium here.
Okay? That's crazy.
So I happen to get I collect email lists. If people forget to blind copy it, then I keep it, until, so I have extensive email lists. So I got a Tea Party one somehow. So I sent out, when the Braves announced, I sent out a notice to them as well as my left, right, and I got a lot of response from the Tea Party. And they said, yeah, let's fight this, because they don't like taxes, Mm-hmm. So we some of the same people who had been responsible, not necessarily personally, but indirectly, for death threats against me, because I've had death threats living in Cobb, where they came on my porch and did a picture of me hanging and hazardous substances. They came and killed my dog and so forth. Anytime I've been in the news uniting the black and Latinos especially together, because that's a big threat to the whites,
Mm-hmm.
And so, but those were, 6, 7, 8 years ago. I haven't had anything since. But some of the same people sitting around the table with me from the right were the people who were against me and inspired those death threats, and now we're friends because we were, because all it takes is people to sit down together, realize, oh, I'm not that much different than he is, I'm saying we all bleed the same, and in that coalition they got to hang out with black folk and Latino folk for the first time. Mm-hmm. And even illegal undocumented immigrants, and you could see they changed, the transformation. So, but one thing I learned about the Tea Party, you can't get them out on the streets to do anything unless it's against, like Obama, or against immigrant, brown or black people. It's hard. So I don't know how I got off on that tangent, but that's the.
That was needed, though.
Yeah. Cobb is an interesting animal, but it's really a microcosm of America, because America is all image and very poor substance. Mm-hmm. We really, we have the best brainwashing, plantation system to keep us slaves in the history of the world, as far as I'm concerned. I've often said the only way you can really see it for most people is to leave this country, and stay in another country. I moved to the Caribbean. That's where I met my wife, and then moved back here. So it's hard. It's hard when you're living here, because look at Obama. I bought the Kool-Aid, the Obama Kool-Aid. I was crying and cheering and everything like that.
Mm-hmm.
But he's just a tool of the same plantation system. He did more than most people would be able to do under those circumstances, positive things, but he couldn't change much. He even said he was naive to think he could. So, and I lost respect for him. I love him as a person and his wife and family and everything. But I lost respect when he called people in Baltimore that were, quote, rioting thugs.
Yeah.
As far as I wrote back on Facebook then, he's the thug in chief. So.
Yeah, puppets, man.
Yeah, exactly.
Corporate puppets, right?
That's it. I mean, right here, I'm a manager here in this business, right?
Mm-hmm.
My employees know, I tell them, behind closed doors, away from the owners, I tell them this is a plantation. I'm the overseer. I'm going to try to make it. The only difference is I also work for the Underground Railroad. So if you want to stay here, fine. I'll make it as positive as possible. If you want to leave, I'll help you find another job somewhere else, whatever. But that's the reality of everywhere I've worked. Big corporations, small businesses. That's the way. And I'll tell you, sadly, some of the worst have been black owned and black run, because they've been, they oftentimes felt they had to sell out to get where they are.
Mm-hmm.
And I give them a pass because I've never been through what they've been through. Even with a black wife and 8 black kids, I don't experience what they experience. I have privilege, so I don't judge anybody else what they do to survive.
Yeah, I think it's a part of what you said earlier, that brainwashing. Even though we in 2016, a lot of black people still feel they have to step on the next black person to look good in front of master. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And that's crazy to me. And it's crazy we still have that mindset. I don't work for some black companies, and seeing how some of us run business the wrong way, and and just being in the workplace, it kind of tripped me out how our people still thought like that. I'm like, man, like, you're not gonna get a raise for trying to make the next person look bad, or it's just crazy. Man, I never really had that mindset. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, it's hard to survive out there if you don't have that mindset. I mean, it's really a jungle in corporate America. I've worked in management in every IBM, every big company, you name it. And that's another facet of white privilege. I don't have any college degree, but I get jobs that require masters. I got an associate's that a college gave to me because I helped them set up a thing. Come on.
All right. But it's great how you use that privilege to bridge gaps. Because some people can easily cross that bridge and just look back and just say bye to y'all and keep going. So for you to do that, that's amazing in itself, because we don't get too many like that. You know what I mean?
Well, the difference is, again, when I grew up, that was a different time, that way different. It was about peace and love and oneness. I tell everybody I hitchhiked this country twice, Europe twice, and you know who my biggest competition was? Single females hitchhiking. Imagine, all over the country. Girls alone hitchhiking, you know what I'm saying?
That's crazy.
I mean, I was a drug dealer in Harlem. That's another whole part of my story. Okay? My father was a New York cop. All the cops' kids were the biggest drug dealers because we couldn't get busted. the
Wow.
Brotherhood, right? So I was inducted into that at the age of 14 at the police resort. Okay, and I wasn't smart enough to just sell drugs. I used I was a heroin addict, you name it, every drug. If crack was around, I probably would have been dead. You know,
Mm.
so um, I forgot how I got on the drug. Oh, I was telling you, I was a drug dealer in Harlem, and I never saw a gun. Okay, nobody carried guns. I mean, big gangsters like the mafia,
Yeah.
but I mean, the street people, nobody carried guns like they do today. It wasn't violent, you
Mm.
know. So there was a lot of violence, but it was not overt like that.
Mm-hmm.
And so I grew up in a whole different time. So that changed. That made me have an appreciation for people as human beings, and also my parents, my family, even though they were racist, you know, the North is more racist than the South.
You know, you're the second person told me that.
All right.
Someone used the example. They said, because the North, the South, white people had to
They were
white
forced.
identified.
Yeah.
They were forced to deal with it, live with it.
Right. They
But
were
up north,
forced.
they not used to. They ain't
Right.
have to.
The South was forced to integrate. The North wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
Today in New York, you have black neighborhoods, white neighborhoods. Not in the city, not right in Manhattan, but I'm talking about the suburbs, Long Island, where my family lives. They kept moving out as blacks moved in. They move out, move out. My brothers and sisters live in an all-white community, all-white high school. You know what I'm saying? So that's in New York, right? Half hour from New York City downtown. So and that's the same every city up north. So my father was. You're too young to know this name, Archie Bunker. I don't know if you ever heard of that show.
Heard of.
Right. Yeah. See if you could ever see some reruns. But
Okay.
Archie Bunker was a racist white Irish guy in Queens, New York. I mean, the show was one of the first shows that dealt with racism overtly. But it was a comedy. He was so racist they made a fun out of it. And then as by the end of the show, a few years, he became a liberal. He changed, what I'm saying, through his son-in-law, interaction with hippies. And that's the same story with my family. My father and parents told me if I swim with black folk, I'm going to turn black. I fixed them good. I married a black woman. I really turned black. But that's how, the joke was I was in all of that movement, right? Civil rights, all of that. And I never once had a black friend. Never once was at somebody's house who was black. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I would go to gatherings with black people and be cool there, but I didn't have any real black friends because we all went back to our, thing. It wasn't until I became a Baha'i and when I went on my spiritual search after I got out of drugs at the age of 20. And by the way, they made a movie on TV about me and my drug gang called The Death of Richie. Because all of us were cops' kids dealing drugs. And one of the other Richies, my name's Richie too, but his father found out about what was going on and shot and killed him by accident, they said, in a fight or argument. And so that became a movie, and I was portrayed in that, so I got to speak on the college campus. That's how I got my associate degree. And I went into drug counseling was my field for a while before I had kids. But back to that time, so it wasn't until I went on a spiritual search and I studied Islam, of course, Christianity again, and all the other religions, and then I learned about, I don't know if you ever heard of Baha'i faith, but that teaches the unity of all the religions, and so that was the first, and the unity of the races. And so it was through the Baha'is that I actually got black friends. It wasn't until I was like 21 that I had my first black friend. It's a different time now. It's much, I mean, it's much crueler, really, because all of this, people have accepted this mass incarceration and criminalization as the new normal.
Mm-hmm.
It's normal. I mean, if you see on Nick Thomas, on the Facebook pages about Nick Thomas, there's one supporting the police officer. There's black folk on there supporting him, saying, I don't know why we're making a fuss out of it. You know what I'm saying? You can tell they're professional. They don't want the boat rocked.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So now the joke is when the police chiefs tell me that, oh, we got a lot of black supporters. I says, listen, when a white person says they support the police, I don't listen to that. Why? Because as soon as something happens to them at the hand of the police, they're the biggest crybabies because they're not used to it, right? Mm-hmm. I said, when a black folk stands up and said, oh, I support the police, I said, I don't listen to them either. You know why? Because I can almost guarantee in 6 months they're going to be calling me about a case with one of their kids or one of their nephews or whatever, so they can say what they want.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, as far as I'm concerned, they're all hypocrites if they're praising, because they're all, it's convenient now to be part of the clique.
Yes, sir. Yes, I think a lot of that comes from lack of leadership. Because had so many strong leaders in your day compared to now, but it's bringing birth to new leaders, and I know you see it from the people you're affiliated with.
Right, exactly. The millennial.
Yes,
definitely.
Sir.
And it's a different time too. That time was more of a where you had hierarchy with one person at the top, like Dr. King, and it was usually male. But now it's more of a democratic organization. Occupy was more democratic. The movement for Black Lives is more where everybody has a say. It's not just focused on one leader or a few leaders, and it's also woman-led. A lot of times, a lot of the groups, and LGBT, and so forth. So you have a greater diversity. So all of that is an advancement over the way we did it in our day. Because look what happened. All they had to do was pick off and kill a few of the leaders, and it ended.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yes, sir. That's an awesome point. That's an awesome point. That really is. I didn't think about that. That makes the movement unstoppable in a way.
Exactly. If you can't figure out who's the leader, if you get rid of me, then you're going to come next. And that's what the old way of doing it is: isolate the leader and get rid of them. With the gangs, they got Larry Hoover, Ford. They got him in multiple life sentences in prison. What they didn't count on was they run the prisons now. They have whatever they wanted. They have women. They have, the only thing is they don't have freedom to leave. But that leadership model doesn't work anymore. It shouldn't, because you shouldn't have no one person should have that much power. Just like in religion, like in my religion, there's no clergy. Everybody is a minister. When you put somebody up on a pedestal, they can fall. Dr. King had a lot of problems. I just learned now. I'm not putting him down. We all do. But I just learned now that he was bipolar, probably. He had issues with alcohol. You put all that pressure on one person. It's not humane. And we should share the leadership.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I sure appreciate you, Mr. Rich, and man, that you gave much knowledge on today, and I'm glad you had me. I'm glad you let me come to your office, and you most definitely drop some things on me, because just as much as I'm interviewing, I'm learning also, and I always tell the viewers that I'm interviewing people who I learn from and who I study, so they could utilize the services that you all provide. And one last thing before we go, I just want you to tell the people about the Poets Against Police Terrorism, because I know that's right around the corner.
Right, that's Thursday night.
Yes, sir.
But that's an ongoing thing. That's Kalanji of the FTP movement runs that, and and also the National Coalition to Combat Police Terrorism, Kalanji Changa. Duraba, the ex-Black Panther, and others, and Cynthia McKinney, who I'm in touch with regularly. She's great, who tells a true story about the deep state and really what's going on because she served in Congress. So they have artists, artists come in weekly, and they used to do it in Atlanta in the West End. Now they're doing it right here in Smyrna at a Haitian restaurant there in Smyrna. So that's an ongoing thing too. If people want to get involved, if you're into the arts, the spoken word, poetry, music, which is all powerful. Um, you know, what's his name just donated $1.5 million to Black Lives Matter. Jay-Z.
Wow.
And and that's the first time he did it publicly. He's been doing that, but it hasn't been public before. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So yeah, come out to those things and support.
Yes, sir. So what's the time and place of that on tomorrow night?
I don't know it off the top of my head.
Oh, it's no problem. When I post it, I'll put the date on there.
Right.
Most definitely.
Did you got the email with it?
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Right.
Yes, sir. And I'm glad you've been keeping me posted because I haven't been to an event in a while. Most of my work I do in College Park, mm-hmm. But I learned a lot from what's going on here, mm-hmm. Because we're kind of moving in the same direction, you could say, but using two different strategies. Mm-hmm. And I learned a lot from what you all are doing out here. Now I would like for you all to see what we're doing in College Park, like for the 20th anniversary of the Million Man March, we went to council and demanded them to fund us to get people on buses to go to DC.
Oh, great.
And eventually they wrote a $7,000 check.
You're kidding?
Yes, sir. So we had about 3 buses full of people
go
to DC. Yes, sir. Them in College Park Police Department, and I say College Park Police Department was a little more willing than the council, and
well, that's great.
Yes, sir. And that's one of the motivations behind me starting this was seeing so many things that nobody was talking about.
Right, exactly. Well, that's the first I heard of that. You're right.
Yes,
and when you say we, who's we?
Yes, I'm with Muhammad Mosque 15B in College Park.
Oh, the mosque?
Yes,
so
sir.
You're Muslim?
Yes, sir.
Oh, okay.
Yes, I was.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam. Yes, sir. I'm gonna look into your religion too, because that's neat. Anything that unifies people, I could respect. You know.
Oh, we work. The Baha'is work closely with are you Nation of Islam?
Nation of Islam, yes, sir.
Yeah, Farrakhan actually goes to our temple outside of Chicago. Has been a guest there. So yeah, we've always worked. And actually, the first coalition we built here in Cobb, mm-hmm. It was the Nation of Islam and the Charles Muhammad, mm-hmm. and my close brother that built that. And the nation is still one of the foundations of each of the movements everywhere.
Yes, sir.
Speaking truth to power. Were you at the church when Farrakhan came?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I was there too.
Yes, sir. See, we might have crossed paths, but I'm glad I finally met you today.
Yeah.
Most definitely. And we got a real in detail interview today, man.
Oh yeah, I told you I can talk.
But you didn't disappoint one bit, man. Like, we got a world of information, and
also I have to talk about the nation. The mm-hmm. nation is who helped get me off of drugs, off the streets, and educated me a lot too. Most people, Blue-Eyed Devil and all that stuff was just political education. They treated everybody as if they were equal.
Right.
The Blue-Eyed Devil is a concept. Is the person who denies what I talked about.
Right. Right.
If they have blue eyes or not.
Right. Yes, sir.
Right.
Yes, sir. So on June 18th, we have a 10,000 Fearless March. Just like, because after the 20th anniversary of the Million Man March, mm-hmm. it started two branches. The LOC, which got people organized to go there, they still continue,
Right.
and the minister asked for 10,000 fearless in each city. So that started in Atlanta, and we chose, being that we have a Master College Park now, we starting the 10,000 fearless in College Park, and we starting at June 18th with the 10,000 fearless march.
Oh, really?
Yes, sir. So
and then there's the house in the Bluffs too,
right? Right. Yes, sir. So
Minister Sharif and Timothy McDonald.
Yes, sir. So it's that same blueprint. That's the blueprint straight from the minister. That's like the cardinal rule in the nation: don't change the teachings. So we're not trying to reinvent the wheel.
Right.
We're gonna use that same blueprint in College Park, and I want you to come out and bring your affiliates out. We got some associates with the street groomers and some others, and I know a lot of different people, and we want a lot of different people there just to show that example.
Let me know.
Yes, sir.
Where does Charles live? In East Point? Charles Muhammad.
Which Charles?
My brother Charles, who's in the prison ministry.
Oh, prison ministry. I don't know where he live. I always see him at the mosque.
He used to live in East Point. He used to live in East Point.
Yes, sir.
But he was always active. He used to be the study group leader here.
Okay.
Before they transferred him to. Now it's Brother Lewis Muhammad.
Yes, sir.
That's over here in Cal. And Sister Helen and the sisters here are powerful.
Yeah,
they come in. When we marched and took over the Cumberland Mall. Last year, after Nick Thomas got shot, It's Bigger Than You. You familiar with that? And the community and the nation and our coalition, Nick Thomas coalition. We all marched and took over Cumberland Road and also the mall for like hours.
Yes,
they didn't know what to do. And it was some of the old Nation of Islam sisters that were there marching with us.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I sure appreciate you, Mr. Rich.
Thank you for coming out.
Yes, sir. We'll see you in June.
Okay, you're gonna email me or let me know something.
Absolutely.
Or text me or whatever.
Yes, sir.
Okay, sounds good.
Yes, sir.